Hello?
Hey, Katie, what is your favorite scary movie?
Ooh. I think my first choice would probably more than likely be The Shining, the Kubrick one, not the King mess. But if we're talking in terms of subgenre, I think my favorite slasher is... Wait! No, should we start with Giallo? Because that's kind of the prototypical slasher, in which case it's probably opera? Oh, but I don't know if that's my favorite Argento film. That might be in a tie with Suspiria.
2 hours later.
Good evening. I am Countess Katie, and you're watching the 4th annual RBComics TV Terrorthon. But I'm not the only bat in the belfry this year. Say hello to our first-time sound technician and longtime cinema hostage, Radio the Bat.
You said I wouldn't have to be on camera.
I said you wouldn't have to sit on the couch. I was pretty unclear about the camera.
Loopholes.
Legalese aside, we want to welcome you back to a decade that was funky fresh and full of flesh. And blood. It's the 90s. Probably the best time to be a kid on Halloween.
Wow, infotainment.
Where was all this stuff in Britain? Sure, we had the Asda and the Tesco ads, but on the night in question it was just, alright, line up single file, no dawdling. Each you'll receive a forced compliment, a petrified bit of toffee, or worse, a bounty bar. Then it's off to the town square for a public caning.
Really?
No, but if I don't make England sound dismal and Dickensian, they'll revoke my citizenship.
Huh. Well, back to RBComics Halloween. We're back to our traditional recipe of 5 bland, flavorless herbs, 5 finger-licking spices, and, 1 delicious honorable mention. So grab yourself a 20-piece bucket of trouble, and let's get to it with our first worst entry. The Haunted, 1991. This film is living proof that the Daytime Emmys and Golden Globes will give an award to literally anyone who tries. The Participation Award of television. Because somehow this trash sandwich was gifted an award for cinematography.
Well, now here's your problem. See, there's no film, no battery, and the lens cap is still on.
And the lead actress, Sally Kirkland, won a Golden Globe for Best Actress. To be fair, they didn't give her much to work with. The film was based on a novel, The Haunted, One Family's Nightmare, co-written by Roger Curran, Janet and Jack Smurl, and Ed and Lorraine Warren. So this ought to be good. The film and novel follow the supernatural siege on the Smurl family, who move into a new home and start experiencing all kinds of spookiness. such as voices from nowhere, objects moving around the house, a self-toasting toaster, fixtures falling out of the ceiling, and a casual bit of... snuggle struggles. Speaking of, they get their Catholic priest to come over and do a blessing on their house. But it doesn't work, and the church won't give him permission to do a proper exorcism because...
The church needs to catch up and needs a more, pragmatic image. Spirits, the devil, all these are part of the old church, Janet, not the new.
Oh yeah, devils and demonic possession are so 1650. Now, the church is into crypto tithes and Zoom-fessionals.
How much did it kill your soul to use those words?
Enough that I couldn't make a Horcrux with what's left. Anywho, after their father goes out for a pack of communion wafers and doesn't come back, Janet starts doing research on her own, which would be great, except that she apparently doesn't know the difference between a pentagram and a hexagram.
I believe it's one side.
It is pretty one-sided, isn't it? The Smurls call in power couple and suspected shills Ed and Lorraine Warren, who walk around their house, see full-body apparitions, ask them a lot of probing questions, and play a tape of organ music. When that surprisingly doesn't work, they call in a favor from an ex-Catholic Episcopal priest on the edge.
I kick ass for the Lord!
Psh, they wish. Instead, they get this guy, who cosplays as a Catholic to half-heartedly rattle off some Latin and flick holy water here and there. Here's a dramatic recreation of what we think that may have looked like.
Get out of here, ghost! Get out of here, ghost! Get out of here, ghost! Get out of this house! Oh, get out of here, ghost! Oh, get out of here, ghost! Oh, get out of here, ghost! Get the fuck out of this man's house!
But when that shockingly doesn't work, the Warrens basically tap out and warn the Smurls against getting the press involved because they're nothing but trouble. As a member of the Fifth Estate myself, I resemble that remark. After Janet takes a midnight flight around their bedroom, Jack decides that telling the public is maybe the only chance they have left. However, the attention from the press and randos become too much, leading to actual harassment and vandalism. Grandpa doesn't take kindly to the media coming around, so he goes out to do a debriefing, the hard way. Just then, the God Squad shows up.
Take a candle.
Welcome.
Please, take a candle.
They pray with the Smurls, and that seems to work for a while until the press attention gets so bad they have to move out anyway.
We hoped that in a new place, away from the public eye, neighbors wouldn't have heard about us.
Hi, we're the Smurls. We just moved in.
The Smurls. You mean that demon family? Hey, Linda! Guess who's here?
They move into their new home, and Janet starts to hear the voice of her mother-in-law calling her. Exactly the way the demons started tormenting them in the last house. Wow, what a great cliffhanger! This must be one of those things that you just can't escape.
I think there's more.
What the hell? Why wouldn't you document the exorcism that actually worked then? Or why include this at all if you wanted to leave off on an uncertain future? You might as well have just slapped a sticky note at the end that says, "They were all fine, don't worry about it." What kind of discount bargain bin Amityville horror is this?
Well, let's try and find something positive. The score is non-existent. Okay, maybe the effects are...
Oh, for Pete's sake, this movie is such a mess! Somebody got gunk all over the camera. Out, damn spot! Out, I say!
Katie, I think that's the ghost.
Oh. Okay. Alright, the visuals are trash, but what about the sound effects?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, that about sums it up. So what we've learned here today is, if at first you don't succeed, try the same thing again and again and again and again and again and again and again.
Isn't the definition of insanity trying something the same way a billion times and expecting different results?
It sure is, Radio. It sure is. Humanoids from the Deep, 1996. Our fifth best film this year is actually a made-for-TV remake of a Roger Corman-produced Sleaze-tacular from the 80s. To be fair to its original director, Barbara Peters, it didn't start off that way. But Corman knows what the people want. Blood, guts, boobies, and butts.
I can feel us getting demonetized as we speak.
Oh, Radio. We were never gonna get monetized. But fortunately for our new AI overlords, this one is less Corman than the original. As far as the made-for-TV movie is concerned, it was directed by Jeff Jonas and still features a fair amount of skin and buckets of blood. But first, a demo of the new Call of Duty DLC, Shooting a Box. Wow, they've really run out of ideas, haven't they? Oh, no, wait, I think those are meant to be the titular humanoids from the aforementioned Deep. This movie's so dark, it's hard to tell. The next day, some environmentalists are using forensic Kool-Aid to test if the local canning company, cleverly named Canco, has been dumping hormones into the water. Later, when the canning employees are coming into work, there's a protest of a whole 5 people in full swing. Quick, call in the National Guard. The canners really aren't impressed either, and do some more environmental damage. Wade rolls in and tries to calm things down, but he's not exactly a master of tact or negotiation, so that plan goes nowhere. So he goes home and finds his daughter getting ready for a night out on the town with...
What's his name?
Matt. Something.
Matt something. That's encouraging.
You know it's a bad sign when even your movie can't keep track of its characters' names. But it turns out Matt something is actually Mr. Greenpeace, the guy with the fish hormone fixation. Wade isn't thrilled that his daughter is dating the guy who might cost him his job, but teens are gonna teen. You can't tell me what to do, Dad! We're like the same age! God! The two go out for a little roll in the mud, but after hearing some spooky growling, Matt actually does the opposite of what every boyfriend does in these kind of stories. Bail. No hook hand on the door required. Kim comes home without her shoes, but they live to bone another day. The next day, we join a random fishing expedition with this movie's version of Alex Kittner, who's feeding the seagulls. So he's already asking to get murdered. The fishermen catch one of the humanoids in a tiny net.
It's a net and it's tiny.
Alex gets caught in the netting and Mrs. Kittner jumps in to save him, but neither of them resurface.
It was a tragedy, a real tragedy.
Their hearts will go on. The beaches will remain open. Wade meets up with the sheriff and the coroner to compare bite marks. Apparently, he survived one of Corman's earlier Jaws ripoffs, and they want to see if the bite marks match.
He's got post-traumatic shock disorder.
We cut to a tiny envelope of money being exchanged for cartoonish Captain Planet levels of pollution being dumped into the ocean. Jeez, you guys couldn't have held out for a briefcase? Being a toxic waste salesman just is not as lucrative a career as it used to be. Unfortunately for them, Matt has it all on tape.
Who would have guessed doing your clandestine waste dumping in the middle of the day might get you noticed? This plan should have been foolproof.
Oh no, they're dumping Mountain Dew game fuel into the ocean. Don't they know that it's highly... Well, I guess they found that out for themselves. Matt just straight up tells Bill that he's got them on film dumping, and Wade tells Kim that she's not allowed to see Matt anymore. She takes it about as well as you'd expect, and flees into the night to join an impromptu beach party with all the drinking, drugs, and nudity we've come to expect from our B-movies.
The B never stood for beach.
So, how to sum this next part up? Teens go in the water. Humanoids in the water are humanoids. everyone is slaughtered except for Matt. And apparently Kim, but shh, we don't know that yet. He washes ashore and reports to the police, who have a hard time believing that monsters attacked his friends, though not as hard as you might think. But you know who's not convinced? Wade. Neither are his idiot friends, who try to convince him that Matt probably killed Kim and everyone else.
Like some Al Bundy.
Clearly some geniuses on this case. Wade's a bit more convinced when he sees a creature attacking a boat with his very own eyes. And while he's pulling them to, mostly safety, Ed, Ed and Eddie over here are gonna blow up Matt's shack. To be fair, I've seen it, and it can only be an improvement. Wade saves Matt, and is more willing to believe him now, if not fully trust him. They go with the people Wade pulled out of the water to the hospital, where they meet Dr. Drake, a woman posing as a reporter who was actually a plot device. Research scientist, who's working for Genetic Research Labs.
Genetic Research what? What a lazy name. That's like if McDonald's called themselves American Clown Restaurant. Ba-ba-ba-ba, it's adequate.
Dr. Drake explains that the military contracted GRL to make super soldiers with death row inmates and salmon DNA.
It's beginning to look a lot like fishmen everywhere I go.
The Salmen escaped and should have died outside their enclosure, but the hormones that Kanko's been dumping have sped up their mutation and cranked up their sex drive to Quagmirian levels of horny, and now they must breed with human women. Back in town, Bill's wife Fran gets taken, and he only seems to notice she's gone when his beer is empty. He finds their dog mutilated, but no sign of his wife. Meanwhile, local law enforcement hear some strange noises coming from the sewer and go to investigate. It better not be those damn turtles again with their skateboards. Well, maybe not, but they sure got shredded. Dr. Drake, Matt, and Wade all decide to go to the bar to drink because I guess they could all use a pick-me-up. When Mrs. Kittner, I know that's not her actual name, that's just what I'm calling her, shows up looking for her son. She doesn't find him there, but that's okay. She's about to welcome a new life into the world. Womb burster, womb burster, womb burster! Yeah! After pretty much everyone saw that, Dr. Drake uses an opportunity on a news spot to call out the military for their involvement in this crisis. Well, at least she wasn't added to their super secret signal chat. That'd be embarrassing. The troops start moving in on the town, and a body washes up on the shore. Wade is relieved that it's not his daughter, but it does appear that she's given birth to a humanoid. The doctor and her two companions go out in search of the cave where the humanoids must be keeping the women. But they've tried nothing and they're all out of ideas.
Okay, well the monsters seem to like women. Why don't you put a dress on and jump overboard?
Yo! Look up, brothers! Look who's here for you!
Fortunately, they come up with a more appetizing plan. They spring Bill out of jail, get him to contact the scientist guy who's been giving him the hormones to dump. Then they overpower him and use the hormones to lure out the humanoids. But they're not going home empty-handed. One of them is taking Dr. Drake home as a door prize, along with this lovely tracking device at no additional charge. The military hauls Matt and Wade into the sheriff's office and wags a very stern finger at them, telling them to stay out of their way. The three of them go to a bar because of course they do, and they see on TV that the next town over is having their annual fair. Bill says that's probably not a great idea since that's where they used to dump the waste chemicals. But what's the worst that could go wrong?
Our state fair is a great state fair. Don't miss it, don't even be late. It's dollars to donuts that our state fair is the best state fair in our state.
The guys figure out roughly where the humanoids are keeping the women, and the military's like, great job, blow it up. After being reminded that there are human lives down there, they're like, meh, you can't win them all, and arm the explosives. Meanwhile, in the humanoids,
Love Shack, baby, Love Shack. Love Shack, baby, Love Shack.
Dr. Drake and Kim have been cocooned up and are now intimately familiar with the Black Lagooners.
I'm sure that's somebody's fetish.
If they're watching this channel, definitely. Dr. Drake has a lighter in her pocket that she gets Kim to light the flammable liquid that they're both coated in. Great idea! Instead of killing them, it ignites in the opposite direction and burns another creature instead. Back on dry land, Bill creates a distraction while Matt and Wade swipe some scuba equipment 2 military guys conveniently left unattended on the beach. They swim through the underwater caves, find the women, and get them out before the explosion can detonate. The military flambés one last jump scare, and then it's off to the hospital for a round of antibiotics and pregnancy tests. Everything seems to come back negative, except, oops, one was a false negative. And Dr. Drake has a little post-mortem postpartum while everyone stops traffic to watch. This movie gave us just about everything we could want from a B-movie. At least one that was subject to TV censorship. I think our biggest complaint is that there weren't exactly memorable characters or what you'd call a show-stopping kill.
It's the minimum you could do for a B-movie, but it's the minimum done well. The score wasn't anything to write home about, but it was fit for purpose. And I think if it weren't for some of the monster design and creative kills, it wouldn't have made the list. We couldn't even remember the characters' names most of the time, having to look up Wade's name. Overall, it's a fun enough watch, but would probably be best enjoyed with friends and liquor.
Trilogy of Terror 2, 1996. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Seriously though, you may be wondering what this is even doing here. As you may recall, if you watched our 70s list, Trilogy of Terror won the topmost spot with one segment alone. What I mentioned then is that they remade that segment for the sequel. What I didn't mention was that they also remade the segment for the Zuni fetish doll, except this time, instead of it being about a woman who's terrorized in the comfort of her own apartment, it's about a woman who's terrorized in a science lab. See, guys? Completely different now. Well, I guess some other people die, so it's got that going for it. And they kind of call themselves out for using the name Zuni without doing any real research.
The scroll says it's a Zuni warrior, but it's not Indian, it's African.
But that doesn't do much to mitigate the, cultural misunderstanding. Seems kind of mild, but it's the best way I can think of to describe it. As far as Bobby goes, when I say they remade it, I mean they basically just hit Control-C, Control-V and called it a day.
Return my son who drowned by accident.
Return my son Bobby who drowned by accident. Return!
Were you nice to me, Bobby?
Were you nice to me?
Playing some game.
Why are you repeating everything I say?
Playing some games.
Why are you repeating everything I say?
There were a few minor dialogue changes, and the Demon Not Bobby reveal makeup looked a lot better this time around. But altogether, this was completely unnecessary. The only reason that it's this high on the worst list is that the shorts are still decent, if not stale. Now let's talk about the real travesty that landed this soggy sack of reheated White Castle burger buns on this list. Graveyard Rats. The segment was based on a short story by Henry Kuttner, which was originally published in Weird Tales in the 1930s, which kind of makes him a contemporary of H.P. Lovecraft. In Kuttner's story, a caretaker at a Salem cemetery is wicked pissed that some dirty rats are honing in on his grave robbing hustle. Yes, literal actual rats. But these are not your ordinary disease-carrying filthy vermin. These are some ROUSs.
Rodents of unusual size? I don't think they exist.
So while digging up a corpse that he just buried to steal his gold fillings and jewelry, he catches a group of them dragging the body through a hole they just chewed in the coffin. And rather than doing what any sane person would do,
I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope.
He hitches up his grave-robbing pants and gets in there after them. The rest of the story is him crawling through tunnel after tunnel, getting more lost, and trying to fend off big bad bubonic beasties. But rats aren't the only thing down there. There's friggin' shambling tunnel zombies! He tries to claw stone loose to block the burrow behind him, only to realize that he has trapped himself in an emptied-out coffin, and dies of a mix of suffocation and rat attack. You wanna guess how much of that is in this POS?
Not much?
Give the man a prize.
Can my prize be that I go home early?
Haha, no. But you don't have to summarize the segment.
Good enough for me.
Mr. Ansford has serious concerns about his wife's cousin.
What's he done? He's done you.
Keeping it in the family. The Hasbergs would be proud.
Obviously, Mr. Ansford is pretty upset, but he says that as long as she stays faithful to him the rest of his life and cuts things off right now, that he won't change the will. That's pretty reasonable of...
This is going to be fun. Watching you attempt to cool off those hot little panties of yours.
Oh, so he's right and gross. Good to know. Immediately after giving her that ultimatum, Laura runs into the arms of her cousin Ben, who's watching the kiss of death. That's only kind of relevant because he immediately suggests they should try killing her husband. Laura's against the idea at first, not for any emotional or ethical reasons, but because she doesn't want to get arrested. But the two of them come up with a plan to stage a robbery, and then Ben pushes him down the stairs, just like in the movie he was watching. Oh yeah, that's some great foreshadowing you got right there. They prepare to bury him in his family plot, but the caretaker says that part of the cemetery's been closed for years due to the rat infestation. I'd like to point out that we are 15 minutes into a 30-minute segment before anyone so much as utters the word rat. He tries to convince Laura to buy a better coffin, and Ben tells him to fuck off. Why he'd want them to buy a better coffin if he was just going to rob it anyway, I don't know. Maybe so that the rats couldn't steal his stuff first? Anyway, a reading of Ansford's will reveals that he's split all his money into offshore accounts and put all the codes to access them onto microfilm. Laura's pretty sure that she just accidentally buried the key to her fortune along with her husband. Whoops. So she and Ben gear up to go dig him up. But luckily for them, the grave-robbing caretaker has already saved them the trouble. Ben whacks him to death with the shovel, and Laura shoots Ben.
Have a nice trip, Ben.
Mr. Ansford's corpse starts getting pulled through a hole in the coffin, and we finally get to see some of these big, ugly... Can they even move their jaws?
And why do they sound like cats? Did that one just roar?
Okay, let's just try to power through. Although, it is worth mentioning that we are 25 minutes in and only just now seeing the rats. Laura crawls in after them to try to get her husband's pocket watch where she is sure that he's hidden the microfilm. So for the next 5 minutes, she's chased, trying to shoot the rats, and backed into a coffin where she's killed. No zombies, no suspense, no nothing. Just 4-ish minutes of rats making not rat noises and squirming at her, menacingly. The short story is so much more interesting than anything we got in this waste of 30 minutes. And I think that's what angers up my blood enough to put it here. Is it fair to judge a movie based on what it could have been instead of what it is? Probably not, but this dropped the ball so hard that I'm gonna do it anyway. Cast a Deadly Spell, 1991. Of all the top 10 lists in all the internet, this movie had to walk into mine. And I'm glad it did, because it's fantastic. Initially, when the film was pitched to HBO executive Gail Ann Hurd, it was projected to cost $25 million. Gail was like, "Bitch, I worked for Roger Corman, we'll make it for $6 million. You'd think that'd be a killer cut to any movie, let alone one whose premise is, it's 1948 and everyone uses magic on a daily basis except this one detective. But, to the credit of literally everyone involved, it was not. Everything about this movie is beyond expectation. Decadent lighting, scrumptious sets, and period-accurate cars and costumes make this a made-for-TV hidden gem. The cast is also perfectly chosen, with Fred Ward playing the hard-boiled detective Harry Philip Lovecraft. Yeah, that's right, HPL, PI. And guess who else? David friggin' Warner. You may remember him from, everything in your childhood. He narrated Winnie the Pooh, he was the voice of the Loeb in Freakazoid, he was in several Star Trek episodes, and the list goes on and on. Hell, this isn't even his first brush with eldritch horror. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Detective Harry Phil Lovecraft lives in a world where magic is out loud and proud, and everybody uses it. Except him. Because...
Nobody's got a mortgage on my soul. I own it. Free and clear.
Yeah, you've got principles. Good for you. But principals don't pay rent, and landlady Mrs. Kropotkin has made it very clear that she's not going to wait around forever. He says he's got a big client lined up, and so the check's in the mail. He goes to meet with Mr. Hackshaw, who says that he needs him to retrieve a very special book that was stolen from him. And that book is, of course, the Necronomicon. Naturally. Hackshaw says he thinks it was stolen by an employee named Larry Willis, whom he fired because his daughter Olivia liked him too much. Which isn't a stretch of the imagination, considering she was hitting on Lovecraft before he even left her house. That girl is thirsty for more than just brandy. But what Phil doesn't know is that the Book of the Dead is being hand-delivered to the owner of the nightclub, the Dunwich Room. Magical mafioso Harry Borden. As a fun aside, Harry Borden is played by Clancy Brown, so if you ever wondered what a young, live-action Mr. Krabs looks like, you're weird, but this movie has you covered. Mickey, the one delivering the book, seems kinda shifty, and Borden realizes he's been set up with a very fancy but very empty book. So he sends his two goons, a talented magician and just gargantuan zombie, after Mickey, who's on his way to the train station to meet his special someone. But before the two of them can run away together, he's given the death of 1,000 paper cuts.
These scary special effects aren't very scary. Please pretend they are.
Well, you can at least tell what's happening. We watched a lot of movies where they definitely wouldn't have bothered to put blood on the bills.
That's very sad, but very true. Anyway, Lovecraft starts his search for Larry Willis at his apartment, where he meets maybe the best character in this whole movie. He's able to bribe him to let him in and snoop around while the landlord takes care of some pest control. Alright, who fed them after midnight? He finds a photo that Larry kept behind the mirror with a man and a woman at the Dunwich Room and a handwritten note that reads, "Love forever, Mickey and Lily." Armed with a few more names, Lovecraft goes to the Dunwich Room and starts asking around. No one's claiming to know anything, and before he can shake it out of them, his ex-girlfriend Connie takes the stage and reminds him why he fell in love with her. They have a drink, and Harry calls him into his office to remind him why that relationship didn't work out. Harry says he doesn't know anything about Mickey, Larry, or the Necronomicon, but politely suggests that Lovecraft should stop looking into it. You know, for his health. He goes home, gets drunk, and thinks about Connie. The next morning, a 16-year-old girl has broken into his room to watch him sleep.
Danger! Danger, Phil Lovecraft! Do not touch! Back away!
Luckily, he's not into that. Or at the very least, knows not to sleep with a client's daughter. So he takes her for breakfast, where Olivia tells him that her father doesn't let her go anywhere with anyone, and that she feels like a princess trapped in a tower, and any guy could be that potential knight ready to save her. As sad as that is, it's made even worse by the fact that Borden's goon has been following them and trying to cast runes at Phil. This is one of those elements that makes this movie so cool. Magic is so multi-purpose and takes on so many different forms because it's part of the everyday lives of people. The runes end up kind of summoning a beast that attacks them, and Lovecraft and Olivia wind up at the police station, where there's all kinds of werewolves and vampires and ghosts and just cool stuff happening around them. We learned that Lovecraft used to have a decent working relationship with the police, but left to go private. His former boss, Bradbury, says that he can come back anytime, but no dice. Meanwhile, His former rival, Grimaldi, is getting to know Olivia personally. Hackshaw comes to pick Olivia up and chews Lovecraft out for putting her in danger and, quote, tempting her. Lovecraft goes home to find Connie there. The two have a chat about how she may have made a mistake going with Borden, but she still thinks he's a chump for not using magic. The next day, Grimaldi is beating around Olivia's bush.
Hell yeah.
Gross! Not like that! He's hiding in her mulberry bushes. Oh, no, that's not any better. Lovecraft is investigating the housing community that Mickey was working on before he disappeared. It's built along thaumaturgical lines and uses undead labor, the American business model. He takes a shot in the dark and says that he's a friend of Mickey's and wants to know if he's around. The sales lady says no, but she's sure that she could give him the same kind of killer deal that she gave his sister Lily. Running with it, Lovecraft says that he'd love to know where Lily is so that he can say hello. So, I'm going to have to pause here and make kind of a discretionary warning. Spoilers. Lily Serwar was actually Larry Willis, and she was Mickey's lover, not his sister. I say she, even though it is unclear as to whether or not Lily was actually trans, or if she thought dressing as a woman would help her and Mickey go out in public without being harassed. But after Lovecraft fucking decks her in her hotel room and steals her wig, she refuses to talk to him really until she gets it back. So it's really either or. The language that Phil uses is not exactly what one would call progressive, but doesn't seem malicious or disgusted when talking to her or about her. It's complicated, and another one of those fictional situations that's just gonna have to be handled on a person-by-person basis. Lily tells Lovecraft that she and Mickey were going to steal the book, sell it, and use the money to live somewhere where they could be together, and that if he gives the book to either Hackshaw or Borden, they're going to use it to summon the old gods, and basically end the world as we know it. But hey, they supposedly get to rule as gods after that. Press X to doubt. Just then, the gargoyle from Hackshaw's roof busts in, kills Lily, tries to get the book back, and gets shot and dazed. Connie takes Lovecraft back to her apartment where Borden is waiting. Surprise! It was a setup! And Borden is going to meet Hackshaw with the book in exchange for ruling a scorched, lifeless earth. What a deal maker. But first, he's going to kill his most useful minion because he's extra smart. Then the zombie loads Lovecraft into the car and they all drive to the housing development Mickey was working on to summon Cthulhu. So the gang's all here, except, oops, another setup where Connie kills Borden and Hackshaw uses the zombie to break Connie's hand, preparing to get all that sweet eldritch power for himself by sacrificing his totally still a virgin daughter to the tentacled terror.
Do the Necronomicon, do the Necronomicon, come on, and do the Necronomicon.
Unfortunately for him, the right goes wrong, and Cthulhu is displeased with his sloppy seconds.
We've succeeded in embarrassing the network into giving us more special effects money. Thank you for pretending.
And decides to just eat Hackshaw and go back to bed. And the day is saved, thanks to Grimaldi.
Grimaldi, you poor sap, don't you get it? You saved the world! And you screwed a 16-year-old virgin?
Just make your own jokes. I'm too tired. I hadn't meant for this special to get so political, and yet here we are.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would it help if we made a BBC joke instead?
No, we'll have use for them a few entries from now. Better keep them till then.
Why do fame and fortune just make people disgusting?
Those people were already disgusting. Fame and fortune just made them think they can get away with it.
Fair point. Back to Halloween goodies?
Yes, please.
The score for this one is fantastic. It really invokes the 40s film noir vibes the film was going for, as well as leaning into the whimsy of a world where magic is everywhere, despite its questionable ending and a few dated things here and there. It was overall a great story with a ton of rewatch value. You'll probably notice something new happening in the background every time you do. The magic is just as immersive as the 40s detective elements. A perfect blend of two great genres that go great together. Just, be prepared for some decisions that aren't well regarded today.
If you end up liking this one as much as we did, there is a sequel that we admittedly didn't watch. It's called Witch Hunt, it came out in '94, and it takes place in the 1950s. Apparently, communism was the real magic all along. Or something, I guess. Let us know if you want us to review that in the comments below. The Crying Child, 1996. No, FNAFers, not that crying child. Although I wish we were talking about the bite of '83 instead of the disappointment of '96. The third worst film on our list has literally nothing to recommend it. No prominent actors, the director's done nothing of note, and there's barely a sentence about it on either Wikipedia or IMDb. And it's further proof that a film can feel lifetimey without actually having to come from Lifetime. And believe me, between this and our next worst entry, it's about to get real lifetimey up in here.
Should I crack a window?
That might be wise. Because this movie is so stale, I was able to predict what was going to happen 10 minutes in. Not because I'm psychic or a great detective, but because it's just that generic. The story opens with Madeleine tragically losing her first baby at birth. Immediately afterwards, she and her kinda clueless husband, Bran or whatever the hell his name is, go to her obligatorily beautiful family home on a ubiquitously beautiful island. Alright, maybe this is just the jealousy talking here, but why is it that all these horror movie families just have family mansions lying around or get insanely good deals on haunted houses? Where's my hitherto unknown uncle's estate? Where's my it's cheap because some guy murdered his whole family in it Zillow listing?
The only reason people find these huge gothic houses is someone wants to watch a movie about a haunted trailer park. Except maybe Rob Zombie.
Ugh, point taken. They don't even set foot in the door before old Bran Flakes here is talking about having another baby. Yeah, it's maybe a bit soon to be bringing that up, don't you think? Madeleine starts hearing baby crying noises from somewhere in the house. At least there's supposed to be a baby. Sometimes it sounds more like that time Leo accidentally got stuck in the dryer. Either way, this shit's not fooling anybody but Maddie. She decides she needs a pal to talk things over with, and her husband is just not the right fit. So she calls up her friend Joe to come stay with them. Apparently, Joe and Ran have had beef for years now, and things are still a bit tense between them. Ran figures he needs a pal too, and bumps into an old school friend who's now the town doctor. The four of them start hanging out, and Joe and Doctor Guy really start to hit it off. Meanwhile, while all that's going on, Madeleine is still hearing crying and getting instructions from her in-house baby, and being followed by a fucking psychic blind character. Well, at least this one's not asking to touch her face. Joe's kind of suspicious when Bran can't remember what medication Maddie is taking, and her sussometer goes completely berserk when she finds that he's been setting up speakers around the house. But apparently, that was all an innocent misunderstanding. He wanted her to have classical music wherever she went for her birthday. I'm not sure which I would have hated more. The fact that this is obviously a secret shame nursery story, or if they had tried to make Bran the actual villain, and he was just trying to drive Maddie crazy for her money. Probably the latter, because that's just as predictable, but doesn't have the added charm of jank-ass special effects. I mean, look at this thing. Woo, spooky oranginess. And how old is this kid supposed to be, anyway? He cries like a baby, but documents that Maddie and Joe found say that he disappeared when he was 7, but that he might have died 7 years after that? So how old is he? 14? 21? That would explain why he sounds like a grown man making baby noises, but that just raises further questions.
To make things worse, rather than giving us a real conclusion to this, child's story, we just get a note written by his stepmother. Apparently, he was an illegitimate son of Madeline's great ancestor that he brought back from Hong Kong. He had shacked up with an English woman there and expected his wife to raise the baby upon his return.
Classy.
Obviously, she wasn't too keen on the idea, and they locked him up in that secret shame nursery. Then I guess he got a ton of rosacea on the face, and everyone thought it was the mark of the devil or something. So they barred the windows, put a seal on the door, and when he just wouldn't stop screaming, they beat him more. Finally, the captain fell down the stairs and broke his neck, and the stepmother beat the boy to death to make him confess to doing it. But he never said a word before he died, so yeah, he's a pretty justifiably vengeful spirit. Madeline manages to calm him down just long enough for Rand to fuck everything up. The ghost freaks out and blows the entire house up like it's full of C4 and Reapers. Maddie rushes back in to, I don't know, save the ghost? Man, we get a fairly creepy scene of the house burning while Maddie sings a disembodied lullaby. But it's immediately ruined by a reveal that she could just walk through the fire now for reasons. Apparently the ghost is now sleeping and all is right with the world, except the house falling down in front of them.
Madeline and company get on a ferry to go home, and Madeline decides that she's no longer going to hold on to the past. So she drops the floral keepsake from the boy's grave overboard and says she might be ready to try again for another baby. Excuse me, but wasn't the whole reason the ghost was angry the fact that he wasn't being acknowledged? I mean, the abuse, yeah, but he made Madeline go out and tend his unmarked grave. So, is the lesson here, remember the past until it's convenient to forget about it?
I thought the lesson was, don't ask your wife to raise your love child, and if you do, don't give it a reason to push you down the stairs.
Good enough for me! We're halfway through Terrorthon 2025, and we'd like to take a minute to acknowledge the fan art you guys sent us last year. There's not a whole hell of a lot of it, so what we did get is very special to us. And we're just sorry we didn't get to acknowledge it sooner. Thank you all again for your beautiful artwork. I must say I've never looked better, if I do say so myself. Well, folks, it looks like we're getting the wrap-up sign because some people can't appreciate a long-form essay anymore. What's this world coming to? TikTok brain rot, if you ask me. But that's neither here nor there. Join us for part 2 of this year's TV Terrorthon, the Nightmare 90s, coming up on RBComics.
Harry wants to see you.
Harry wants to see me.
Harry wants to see you now.